Zehad Olmert, who said it initially worked well when the UN peacekeepers concerned were from European countries, but when they were succeeded by troops from, and this is a direct quote from him, Fiji, Caribbean Islands, the Philippines, they thought it was a tourist venture, not a military mission. In other words, then there was an opportunity, a vacuum created, which Hezbollah was able to take advantage of.
Look, I get his point, but no, I actually don't agree with that. I think that the failure itself was, there was no implementation mechanism. There was no monitoring. UNIFIL is unarmed peacekeepers. They don't get into a fight with Hezbollah. There was nobody there.
How does this avoid that problem?
Let me answer this one.
Yeah.
There were tunnels that were found in this war that were 1.5 kilometers long, large enough to hold thousands, not hundreds, but thousands of Hezbollah fighters with weapons that were within yards away, a few hundred meters away from UNIFIL positions. Something's got to give. That cannot continue. And we are going to be watching like hawks everything that is happening on the ground, because that is the key to all of this.
Right. Now, in terms of these practicalities, why stop now when Hezbollah, a group your own country designates as a foreign terrorist organization, is on its knees? Surely it's in both the United States' interest and Israel's to blunt an organization which is arguably part of the influence which Iran wields in the region.
You're 100% right, which is why once the Israelis were successful in eliminating Nasrallah leadership, we did not push for a ceasefire right away, even though others were, and we needed to play out a little bit. But we decided a few weeks ago, together with the Israelis and the Lebanese, that this was the right moment. And here's the deal. There's always another Hezbollah guy to kill. There's always more territory that you can take here and there, another village. But at some point, you have to translate your military gains on the battlefield into an arrangement. Because if you just keep going, you have your own casualties, your own destruction, and you don't get to get your goal. The war goal here is not to eliminate Hezbollah. That's not what Israel ever said they wanted to do. Second, their goal was to bring their people back home in the north safely and securely. But Hezbollah was insisting on tying the fate of the Lebanese people to and give authority to Sinwar or to the Hamas over what happens in Lebanon by saying, we won't stop firing until the war in Gaza is over.
Yeah, so how did you get them to drop that demand?
Well, one is that was kind of the secret sauce of this agreement, is the delinkage of that. And the gains on the battlefield were very important to achieve that. And at the end of the day, look, both sides have to win something. And I think the Lebanese people, by the time we did this agreement, a significant majority were like, enough is enough. We never asked for this war. Hezbollah went into it voluntarily. Israel didn't attack Lebanon. They attacked Israel. And we're kind of sick and tired of this. And the Lebanese people suddenly say, you know what? Hezbollah's weak, so militarily and politically. It's time for us to take back our country.
I just want to be clear what the two sides got of this. Are you saying then that you didn't offer Hezbollah anything to drop the demand that links this to the Gaza conflict?
No.
Right. And on the Israeli side, what persuaded Mr. Netanyahu to agree to a ceasefire which he has been resisting for quite a long time? Did it have anything to do with extra offers or guarantees, which is reported by at least one television channel in Israel, that the United States made to the Israeli government?
I categorically deny all of these rumors that we threatened. I think one of them that I threatened that we would not veto Security Council resolutions.
You would have seen the pictures of people who have decided to try and go back to their homes. There's a big line of vehicles in the suburbs around southern Beirut. Lots of those people are flying the flag of Hezbollah. Lots of them are showing photographs of its dead former leader, Mr. Nasrallah. The hearts and minds side of this is surely an important aspect of any chance of a ceasefire holding, and any chance of Hezbollah, which after all knows the territory inside out, not simply rebuilding itself in this space that's been created.
Look, I saw the flags and so on. I always love when people who lose a battle, it always reminds me of John Cleese when the knight loses his arm and he says, it's just a flesh wound. And after
Monty Python and the Holy Grail, I think you mean.
Yes, the Knights of the Holy Grail. And he says, like, I can still fight, you coward. So they're carrying a banner of Nasrallah. Let me just explain. They're carrying a banner of a guy who said that Israel would not be able to enter their land, and if they would never be able to capture anything, that their leadership was strong and all that. They crumbled. They literally crumbled. Hezbollah went to a war, they fought it, they lost it. But Nasrallah, the man that they're carrying his banner, is not going to save them. He's dead. His successor is dead. Most of the leadership are dead. And the Lebanese people, by a vast majority, want to see a new Lebanon with leaders that care about their own people. And at the end of the day, want to live their lives like normal human beings around the world with hopes, aspirations, and security and prosperity. That's what they want. The Israelis have zero territorial claims to Lebanon. This is not the West Bank. This is not Gaza. And we should stop doing Iran's job for them of tying conflicts to each other. They're unrelated.
Does this success in getting a ceasefire between Israel and Hezbollah offer any hope for a resolution of the conflict in Gaza, at least to the stage where the fighting stops?
Yeah, I think so. I think that where we are, interestingly, is that today, Hamas leadership wakes up this morning at 4 a.m. their time and says, the Israeli military, for the last 13 and a half months fighting us, has been distracted into a two-front war, and they now have only one front. That's a new reality that started today. Second reality is, for the last 13 and a half months, we had the largest terrorist organization on the planet was vowing never to stop unless we are taken care of. And all of a sudden, they cut a deal for themselves, and they cut Hamas out. So now Hamas is alone. And you know who supported this deal? Iran, the supporter of Hamas. So Iran betrayed Hamas here as well. They walked away and understood. So Hamas now, you guys are on your own. You're not in Doha anymore in fancy villas. So now you're on your own. And what President Biden said yesterday from the Rose Garden, these guys at Hamas have not come to the table negotiating in good faith for months. They have hostages, among them Americans, who are sitting in who knows what kind of horrific conditions for over a year. Come to the table, but you will not get a deal unless you release the hostages. And we are willing to pursue a deal. We think there's an opportunity now. So I think this deal yesterday opens two doors. One is for a deal with Hamas on getting the hostages out and ending the conflict. And two, if we get that done, a normalization agreement between Israel and Saudi Arabia. I know I sound crazy, I know, but then again, people thought I sounded crazy when I said I thought I could get a deal in Lebanon. So it's okay. I read many articles how I was in fantasy land, but I believe that there's a moment of opportunity. Will it happen? I don't know, but we have an opportunity. And I think that's why this deal is so important. It's not just about Lebanon. It's a key that unlocks potentially an even broader door.
That's Amos Hochstein, whose official title is Deputy Assistant to the President and Senior Advisor for Energy and Investment at the White House. But he was talking to me there in his capacity as the US envoy who, along with the French, helped negotiate the ceasefire between Israel and Hezbollah. And in a few minutes' time, we're going to hear from northern Israel reaction to the ceasefire there. You are listening to NewsHour from the BBC World Service. Do stay with us.
This time of year, many of us pause and think about all the things we're grateful for. At Colorado Public Radio, we're so grateful for all of the donors and sponsors who choose to support CPR. We wouldn't be able to do what we do or be here for you without you. Thank you for being a part of the CPR family. We are so grateful for you.
Support comes from Visit Denver and Mile High Holidays, celebrating holiday magic this season in Denver with shopping, nightly drone shows, performances, and millions of lights. Learn about hotels and activities at milehighholidays.com.
This is Sean Lane with NewsHour, live from the BBC in London. While in northern Israel there is apprehension about safety, as around 60,000 Israelis are also considering whether or not to return to their homes near the border following the ceasefire agreement. The Israeli government spokesman David Mencer said Israel would adhere to the agreement, providing it's enforced.
We will respond forcefully to any violation. With the US's full understanding, Israel maintains full freedom of military action. So if Hezbollah violates the agreement and tries to again rearm itself, we will defend ourselves. If it tries to rebuild terrorist infrastructure near our border, we will defend ourselves. If it launches a rocket, if it digs a tunnel, if it brings in a truck carrying rockets, we will defend ourselves. Israel will respond forcefully to any violation.
David Mencer. Well, the BBC's Lucy Williamson has spent the day talking to people in northern Israel about what the ceasefire deal means for them.
The ceasefire today drew people back on both sides of the border. Maitel and her 13-year-old daughter Geffen back home in kibbutz Menara for the first time in more than a year.
It's unbelievable. It's like a nightmare.
It's your first time back in
After
a
1
year.
year and 2 months. We left on the 8th on October 23.
You've heard the small arms fire outside?
Yeah. They want to come back. So we need to
Keep them away.
keep them away.
Or hearing regular bursts of small arms fire as we walk around the kibbutz here in Menara. 3/4 of the buildings here have been damaged or destroyed. People can't move back yet, but even if they could, they need to trust the ceasefire first. The Lebanese village of Maisal Jabal, clearly visible across the border, is one of several places where Israel's army says it fired towards suspects spotted nearby. Not gun battles with Hezbollah fighters, it said, but warning shots. 4 suspects were arrested.
I personally will come and be here regardless of whatever goes on there. But I'm a crazy, stubborn old lady, okay? Families will not come back here. No. It's impossible.
Orna Weinberg grew up in this kibbutz and has lived through Israel's 2 previous wars in Lebanon. Nothing will stop her from coming home, she says, but families may not return here.
They accumulated so much weapon and they dug so many tunnels. It would have been 1,000 times more than what happened in the south.
Do you trust the ceasefire?
I don't think the point is trust. This remains to be seen. But I know that it cannot be allowed to happen again. Our forces will not leave this village.